All right, we're gonna go over inspection of a ladder. Out here we have a 24-foot extension ladder today. The things we want to remember when we're inspecting a ladder is we want to do it the same every time. That way we're having a systematic approach, not missing things as we inspect any ladder that we come across. So if this was a 14-foot ladder, I'd inspect a lot of the same parts. If this is a 35-foot ladder, the same goes for that. So I'm going to start here at the base. You could start at the tip of the ladder. It doesn't necessarily matter as long as you're doing this systematic the same way each time. So first thing I'm doing when I approach, I'm taking a look to make sure I don't see any gross deformity in the rails or beams of my ladder. And then as I come up, I'm inspecting my butt spurs, making sure they're intact. I'm checking my trusses, making sure those are good, or my tie rods rather. I'm checking my knot to make sure it's tied in a clove hitch. I'm checking the halyard as I go up, making sure there's no issues, fraying, anything associated with that. As I come up my beam or my rail, I'm checking for gouges, any big divots, dents, things like that. I'm looking to check my heat sensor labels are intact and within date. If they are out of date or have been exposed to heat, they will turn dark, and that will be a telltale sign that you need to inspect this ladder after use. So I'm checking my dogs at this point, making sure that they're free moving, that there's no issues with their operation. As I come up, I'm checking each rung to make sure that each rung is attached, that there's no dents or divots, anything like that. I'm going to continue up all the way along my ladder, checking my halyard, my rail, my fly section, my bed section, and all of the rungs all the way up. On these ladders here at training, we have a blue marker here. That doesn't really come into effect on the ladders we carry out on the trucks. More heat sensor labels, walking my way all the way through. On this ladder, we notice this has been repaired once before. I want to pay special attention to that, making sure that the repair hasn't degraded over time or has any other issues with that. So I'm going to continue all the way up, checking all the rungs all the way up, all the rails, all the heat sensor labels. In here you'll notice there's stops. I want to make sure my stops are intact. They're on all sides, and I'm also checking my guides. This is going to keep our bed section or our fly section attached to our bed section. There's bolts that hold it on. You want to ensure that they're tight. You want to come up to your halyard, ensure that you have a free spinning pulley at the top, and then you're going to check the tip and make sure that these encasements on the tip are intact. I'm also checking my tie rods here at the tip. Then I'm going to come up here. I'm going to come back to my midpoint, my balance point, flip the ladder over, taking a look at its overall condition. I'm going to set it back down. Same thing. Since I ended at the tip, I'm going to work my way back to the butt of the ladder, just making sure all my connection points are tight, that I have no issues. Coming down, I've checked all these rungs already. Now I'm just checking my beams and my rails. As I come down, checking the dogs one last time on the back side, making sure all the bolts are intact and making sure my halyard is tight. And that concludes a ladder inspection. So we're out here with a 14-foot ladder. You've seen an inspection done on a 24-foot extension ladder. This is a 14-foot straight or roof ladder. All the inspection points are going to remain the same, minus we don't have dogs or a halyard on this. However, we do have some other equipment on this. These are roof hooks. These are designed to capture the peak of a roof, and you use this as a stabilizing ladder on a rooftop. And the way that we inspect these, we want to make sure that there's no gross deformity in the bend or the hook portion of this, that there's no angulation to that bend, they don't look cracked, anything like that. We don't see any signs of exposure to heat, anything like that. We want to check and make sure that the block is attached on each side. We have bolts here. We want to ensure that those are tight. And then in here we have springs, and that's how we actually deploy these roof hooks. We want to go ahead and deploy those roof hooks on both sides. So you push it in and then let it spring back out, and it locks these into place. And we just want to ensure that those work, that they operate smoothly. So that's one added step to inspecting a roof ladder.